Harris, thanks for having me on. Great to be with you and Matt. I'll tell you, finally, I'm so relieved. I have heard someone articulate an actual crime during this trial. Michael Cohen very clearly articulating that he stole money from the Trump organization. That's not the case they prosecute. Instead, they bring this case utilizing the person who's now admitted to multiple felonies on the stand. It's mind-boggling that that's where we're at, but hey, that is what happens when you put someone like Cohen on the stand. You don't know what you're going to get, and they're going to continue this until they can no longer make additional points, and then they'll move on to try to undermine the elements of the crime that the prosecution is trying to prove.
So, I would imagine he had some sort of immunity, right? Michael Cohen, or can they go after him after this? Or would they even, Brett?
Well, I think if they lose this case, I wouldn't be surprised if they turn the tables. I'm sure that he's been given assurances that they wouldn't come after him for many of these crimes. Yeah. But if I were Trump and he is acquitted, I'd pursue it. I'd push it and force them to make that hard public decision.
So you anticipate that the cross-examination will end. What kind of defense, if the prosecution chooses to redirect and ask a second round of questions for Cohen, they can. What kind of defense would you like to see?
Well, I do think they need to try to clarify the poor manipulation that's going on of the statutes in this case. It's very difficult to do, though, Harris, because the judge is going to really rein in any sort of expert opinion or legal analysis, because it's the judge that is typically reserved to address the law in front of the jury. But what they're going to try to do is put on witnesses that poke holes in the actual legal theory that's being played out in this trial. They will, of course, provide, if they do have witnesses they think are relevant, there may be some witnesses that can come in and can give a different story than Michael Cohen. I think they'll call those as well. But I anticipate this will be a very short defense by the president. Harris, you look at the cases that are brought, and you look at the Democrat, the left's strategy, as you say, to throw everything at them. There's a real danger when you try to use the law in a way that is not consistent with the facts that you have or with the purpose of the law. You have motions, and Matt's right. This motion, for example, for a selective prosecution, we have already seen over the past year or so a federal judge throw a case out for selective prosecution. That's significant. I don't remember another time in the last 25 years that a judge has done that. And that's what Eileen Cannon right now is considering, among other things. So if you're gonna live by the sword, you might also die by the sword in this case.
His own, but is that enough, Brett?
Well, Harris, he was on life support before today. I mean, at this point, I think you have to just say, no, the witness is no longer relevant with us or supportive of what the prosecution is trying to do. Once he has indicated both the conflicts in terms of him hating Trump, but then add on top of that layers of inappropriate money that he was earning out of his relationship, a sort of pay-to-play scheme that he was setting up on his own. And then on top of that, he's stealing from his client. I mean, this is a train wreck. There's no life support. There's no pulse at this point. You just have to, as a prosecutor, say, you know what, we just probably wasted our entire investigation by putting this man on the stand. And it does highlight how this was a political witch hunt as opposed to a genuine, sincere effort to bring facts and the law together to present to a jury to go after Donald Trump.